Welcome back everyone to Blend to Unreal Engine 5, the complete beginner's guide, and this is where we left it off. Alright, let's actually click on both of our interlocking circles. Let's put this on material mode, and then what we'll do now is we'll bring in another cube. So Shift A, cube, press the S button, shrink it down. What we're going to do is we're just going to put a top on here, just so we have something to work up to. So we're going to put a top on here, like so. We're going to pull it all the way to this end then. And what I basically want to do is I want to make sure that this is sticking out very, very slightly over this side. So if I come down, I can see, if I go over the top, that we've got our main support here. So we want it coming up to our main support. Let's press 7 again, over the top, like so. So I just want it just lining up. You can see that's the main support. This is the bit that comes out a little bit. Then I'm going to pull it back to make sure it's all level. And then finally, what I want to do now is press the dot button to zoom in. And I want it all to measure up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this down a little bit, pull it to the side a little bit, like so. And then I'm just going to pull it out a little bit, just so it's going to stick out there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back all the way then to here, so it sits nicely on there. Now, the thing is, just make sure it's actually sat on there. We don't want any gaps. As you can see, there's a little bit of a gap there. So I'm going to hold Shift, pull it down, just so it's actually sat on there like so. All right, now what I want to do is I want to put this on the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control A, all transforms, and then I'm going to actually send it to the cursor, which is there. So right click the origin to 3D cursor. If your cursor's not there, if you've moved it, just grab both of these, set the cursor there again, or you can grab your floor and set it there, up to you. And then what I'm going to do now, we're going to do a little bit of work on here. So the first thing, as we've done all the way through, we're going to first of all mark our seams out. So Shift, select both of the front and back, press Control E, mark seam. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in to this part down here. This is the least part where everyone's going to see. Right click, mark seam. Now what I want to do is I want to actually give it a little bit of variation down there. So I'm going to press Control R, bring in some edge loops, left click, right click. I've got 8 edge loops in mine, up to you if you do that many. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press tab. I'm going to come over and add in a bevel. I'm going to turn my bevel all the way down, turn it up just a little bit, put it on object mode, and just make sure that the bevel is lining up with these. As you can see, these are a bit too much, so let's put it on 0.005 like so. And now they're more in line with these. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror it over to the other side. So I'm going to add in a mirror over the other side like so. Make sure that it lines up like this one does, and that's looking pretty good. And then going to apply the mirror because I want to have variations on each of these. So let's apply it. I don't want the variations on this transferring to this one. So I'm going to press Control A, hovering over my mirror in object mode. And then finally what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to bring in a randomize. So mesh, transform, random. Let's put it on near enough 0.1 again. Let's have a look at that. Maybe that's not quite enough. Maybe it is. You've got a little bit of variation. Let's try 0.2 instead. So I'm going to do it again. So mesh, transform, random, 0.2. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, and I think that's looking a bit better. Let's right click and shade auto smooth. Yes, and I think I'm happy with that. All right, finally what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this part out. So I don't want them exactly the same length. So I'm going to pull this one out. I'm going to grab it, pull it out a little bit, like so. All right, there we go. Now we have something to work with. What we can actually do now is we can actually use this to create more supports on each of these windows. What I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to press Shift A, cube, bring it out, press the S button. I'm going to press the S button like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pull this out. So S and Y, like so. I'm going to drop it then into place. So this is going to be basically one of the main supports for the window, which means that it needs to come down from the floor. So just touching those floor parts there, and then come all the way up into this part here, like so. Now we can see that it needs to also Go all the way through the back, but not coming over here. And this is just in case you want to do an inside of your own cabin. So just like that. Now the support's going all the way through. The other thing is, if I put this onto X-ray, we can see that it's way, way over here. Makes the window much, much smaller. So I actually want to grab it here, just pull it back. So it's not so much over the window, like so. And then finally, I want to probably, I don't want it sticking out quite so much, so I want to pull it back a little bit. And now I'm looking at is, I don't really want it, I think I want it a little bit thinner than these ones here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull it back a little bit like so. All right, now we've got that. What we can do with this is we can basically pretty much use this all around the sides of the cabin and all around and on the back as well. So once we've made it, we can use it a lot, in other words, is what I'm saying. So let's actually grab this now. Press the question mark just to isolate everything out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come in, mark my seams again, Control E, mark seams. And then I'm going to mark a seam on the inside of it here, where no one can see it. Right click, mark seam, add in some edge loops, left click, right click, like so. Bring in a bevel, but first of all, make sure to reset your transformations. So right click the origin to geometry, and let's add in a bevel. Let's turn it down. Let's turn it up 1. Let's press a little question mark just to make sure. You can see again, too much. So we'll put it on 0.005, like so. That is looking pretty good. Now, before I go any further, no, actually, I'll unwrap them all at the same time. So now it's just a question of putting these all in place. So if I come to it, press A to grab it all, and then press Shift D, it means I can just drag them over, put them in place like so, and then we'll do the next one, Shift D, place like so. Just wondering whether to turn on X-ray, press 3 so I can see where this window kind of is. And I think I don't want it, you can see there, it's way, way over. So I am going to go into this kind of board a little bit. Then I'll do the next one. So turn off my X-ray and let's have a quick look at that. Press tab. Yeah, and that's looking pretty nice. Okay, so now let's have a look where else on my cabin am I going to need these. Well, probably going to need some back here to actually build up this part. So I think what I'll do is I'll actually use this one. So L, I'm going to press 7 to go over the top. I'm going to bring it into place then. So where is, if I press 1 now, I should be able to see. It should be in there, like so. Shift D, bring it over, and like so. Then what I want to think is are those in enough? In other words, if we bring our guy here, press 1 again. So the archways, you know, the door is going to be in there. So in this part here. So probably I can get away with bringing them in a little bit. So if I grab this one first, bring it in just a touch, like so, and then bring this one in, just a, oops, grab this one, bring it in just a touch, like so. Press 1, let's have a look. Just making sure now that they're around the same, which they are. And now finally we can work. So he's going to go that far back. And he's going to be sleeping up here, so there's enough room. Just make sure that when we put our chimney in, that, you know, it's probably going to be round about here. And then some logs may be stacked up here. That's what I would say would be the best thing. Maybe in here can hang up, you know, his coat or things like that over here. So I'm also, you know, thinking of, okay, where is everything going to be? Are these too far forward, for instance? I think they are a little bit. So I'll grab both of them and just pull them in just a tad like so. Now let's grab this one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to now do the other side of the cabin. So I'm thinking that we should put maybe 3 supports over here. So I'll grab this one. I'm going to press Shift D. I'm going to grab it, put it over here. See, for some reason, when I did that, drop down, and I don't want that. Put it just there, like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it over here so, and then Shift D. We'll put this one here, and then Shift D. Put this one maybe here. And then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to press Shift D, and I'm going to bring one to the back. But it's going to go sideways, not this way. So I'm going to bring it to the back, like so. I'm going to spin it round. So R, Y, 90. And now if you press Control 3, it will go to the back. Sorry, Control 1, it will go to the back, like so. And then I'm going to pull it out. So S and X, pull it out. It will be in front of them because we need to rotate it, I think. Let's pull it back. Let's rotate it. So RX, 90. Let's slot that into place, making sure it comes through all of this wood. Holding Shift right up to that part, and that part making sure it slots in. Again, just in case you actually have a character who's going to come in this cabin. Okay, that's looking pretty nice. Now, we might as well, while we've got all these, actually do this and this part here. So let's do the back first. So while I've got it, I might as well use it. So Shift D, bring it up. This time now, I'm going to spin it round. So X 90. Let's spin it round. Let's pull it up a little bit more, like so, and then making sure that it slots right down on top of those. So we don't want any gaps. As you can see, there's a little bit of a gap. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press 7 to go over the top and bring it in. So S and X, bring it in. And the reason I'm doing that is because we just want it touching these parts here. We want to see basically a little bit of a gap down here. Not that much, but a little bit. So I'm going to pull it out very slowly, like so. And now it's looking like it's actually fitting into place. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to bring this part round to the front as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this one, Shift D, bring it onto the front, like so. And then I'm going to pull it back into place. Or do I want to put it just... Yeah, I think actually I'm going to put it just in front of these. I'm going to pull this just in front. Yeah, and I think that's going to look a little bit better. All right, now we've done that. Let's just pull this part out so we can finish this. So we'll grab it all the way over there. Pull it out. And we'll pull it out a little bit more. And there we go. Now everything's fitting together properly. And also it's based on realism. You can see it's looking pretty realistic. The one thing is that this probably shouldn't be all the way into there. So let's fix that. So I'm going to come in, grab this one, S and X, pull it in, just so it's touching there. And is this one touching there? Let's have a look. Let's pull it over. No, it's a long way in. So I'm going to pull it there, S and X, holding Shift, move it over, holding Shift again, so S and X. Maybe there. Let's have a look. Yes, that looks much better. All right, so that's looking good. Now we've got our bevel on, we've got everything done in here, except we haven't done the randomize. So let's grab them all, because we did them all together, because we duplicated them in edit mode, which means now I can come to mesh and come to transform, randomize them a little bit, and turn this all the way down. So we're happy with it. So even 0.1 is probably going to be a bit better. Tab, right click, shade auto smooth, and now we can actually join the material up with this one here. So if I put it on material, I can actually grab all of these, so including these as well, because they should all be unwrapped. Let's grab this one, press Ctrl L, and then we're going to link materials. Now if we go back to here now, you can see again I need to take off this material here. So I'm going to turn off cracked wood, take it off, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab both of these again. You can see we've also not all unwrapped, which I thought they would be. And we're going to minus off this. And then I'm going to do the same with this, minus it off. All right, now let's undo them all. So if I press A, I'm going to UV unwrap, so UV unwrap, like so. And then I'm going to do the same with these. So A, U, UV unwrap, like so. Now there is also something that, at the moment, this is a massive plank of wood. Should it be a massive plank of wood? Probably not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this up as well. So I'm going to split it up the easy way. So I'm going to come to the back of here, select them, Control plus, going all the way up to round about there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Y, split them off, press G just to move them. And then if you right click, it'll drop them back in place. Press A to grab everything. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to Mesh, clean up, fill holes, and hopefully now we should have a little tiny bit of a gap there, which we have. Now what we can do is we can just pull those back a little bit. So if I press tab again, X-ray mode, grab this, Control plus just once, and now what you should be able to do is just pull it back a little bit, and you should have a nice gap in there. Same with this one then. So tab, grab this, Control plus, and then pull it back just a little bit, like so. There we go. Now we've got a broken piece of wood, which actually looks a lot more realistic than where it did before. All right, so I'm happy with that. Now, the next thing we need to do is just make sure that this wood is looking not too low resolution. You can see here, high resolution, low resolution. So let's sort this out first. I'm going to grab them all, go to UV editing. I'm going to press dot to zoom into it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my UV map, A to select everything, S to pull it all out. And there we go. All right, everyone. So what we'll do then on the next lesson is we'll make sure that these are also not low resolution. And then I think we'll make a start on finishing these windows. All right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that. See you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.